Hi, welcome back to Triple Threat, Ginger Griffin Snaps Out. And this is a snap out for everyone, not just me, but we'll share my experience and then hopefully you can benefit from it. Not only snapping out of limiting beliefs, Alex, but also snapping into alignment with your authentic purpose. And I give Teal Swan the credit for that, snapping into alignment. So I reached out. Hopefully we'll have her.
We will have her.
Yes, we will have her. She's on the podcast in another timeline in the future.
Absolutely.
All right. So today we're going to remind everyone of what we talked about last week, which is breaking out of false beliefs. And step one is identifying false beliefs. But let's also have an addendum to step one and call it step two.
Okay.
So we are also identifying behaviors that are used. They both start with the letter B.
There we are. Yep,
so we have step one is identifying beliefs that are maladaptive.
Yep.
And step two, identifying behaviors that are maladaptive. So what do I mean by maladaptive behaviors?
Yeah, tell us.
Well, what are some maladaptive behaviors that you have, Alex, that you may want to change? Because remember, the and is the acceptance or the admission that we're ready to change, right? So and correct. One, identify the belief.
Yeah.
And two, identify the behavior that we're seeking to change. What is a behavior that you want to change?
I actually got to put into practice some of the things you're teaching yesterday.
Okay.
So as you know, I'm a podcast producer, so I have quite a few podcasts that I'm working on. And yesterday, I received a text in the morning from one of the hosts of the show that irked me.
Tell us about your podcasts. We want to hear more.
Well, this particular podcast is a podcast that's hosted at BuzzFeed, and it's called The Gay and Trying Podcast.
Say it again.
The Gay and Trying Podcast.
Gay and Trying.
It is a pop culture, just comedy interview style podcast. And one of the hosts had texted me in the morning and was like, just had said something that was contradictory to previous conversations. And as a producer, I take things really seriously. If we agree on something, I'm going to make sure it happens like that.
Okay.
And I get there early to set everything up. And I found myself playing out how this conversation was going to go and just negative energy, just like playing it out. Like they're going to come in, I'm going to have a reaction to the text that they sent. And then I'm going to say this and then they're going to say that. And then I stopped and I went, this has not happened. I am in control of how this plays out.
Right.
I do not need to come into this with such negative energy.
Okay.
The belief that this person is going to come in and be hostile with me is not actual fact.
True.
It's what I'm creating.
Exactly. Good.
So I stopped, I switched the narrative.
Okay.
And I said, no, he's going to come in. We're going to address the text in a really positive way. And we're going to be able to start this episode from a really good footing. It's exactly what I did.
Okay.
It's exactly how it played out. And at the end of it, I was like, look, I believed that you were going to come in here and have an aggressive attitude with me, even though nothing about that text said that. I had just assumed and prepared for that. And then I said, no, I'm not going to let that be what happens.
Okay.
And then we had an amazing session.
Right.
And we were able to talk through this and you were able to explain your tone behind the text.
Right.
And everything is fine.
Okay, but let's go down closer to the root of that. So that's great, a great analogy. And you owned the frame. So what does it mean to own the frame? Owning the frame means setting the stage for the conversation.
Okay, yeah.
So imagining how the conversation is going to go and then own the frame. So you flipped the narrative of this is going to be a negative conversation.
Yeah.
And you created a belief that, no, I can own the frame and create a positive and productive conversation. And in my practice, I call it controlling the chessboard.
Oh, okay.
Because if you control the chessboard or if you control the frame of how the conversation is going to go, you can literally change the frequency of the conversation, the vibration of the conversation, raise the vibration and get to a productive result. People don't get entrenched in their position if you do that. So excellent. But let's go down closer to the root of what the belief was underneath the negative forecasting.
I know exactly what it was.
Okay, what was it?
That I'm not adequate and good enough at the job that I know how to do.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
I'm not worthy.
I'm not worthy. My professionalism is in question.
Okay.
And I take I take that very seriously because I take my work very seriously.
Right.
And so I was taking that on as offense.
Well, you were offended, but there was a temptation to believe.
Correct.
To believe the lie, I'm
Right.
not worthy. Now, the truth is, everybody is worthy. We are all, as human beings on this planet, worthy. And people might behave badly and do things that someone would judge and say, he's unworthy, a bad person, right? Maybe bad.
Yeah.
And the reality is, each person that chooses to come to the planet and live the human experience has an opportunity to be worthy and generally is. So that belief of I'm unworthy comes from far in the past,
Oh, yeah.
which we're going to get to in step 3, which is identify the cause. Just so you know what's coming down the pipe, identify the cause of the belief and the cause of the behavior is coming, but we're staying step by step. So
For sure, yes.
in subsequent episodes, we'll go through how did you own the frame and control the chessboard and move forward so that you could have a productive meeting. So that's great.
Okay,
You
yeah.
identified the belief.
Yeah.
The I'm unworthy belief. I have a
Yes.
story about that too that happened to me.
Can you share?
Sure, absolutely.
Please share.
Okay. Well, we're digressing. This is
I know. It's
this
okay.
Is,
This
this
is okay.
is the identify the maladaptive behaviors, but it's really quickly sit down and write down the behaviors that you want to change. I want to stop smoking. I want to stop drinking. I want to stop using substances
Biting my
to
nails. That was a
right
big one.
everything,
Yeah.
all of them, right? So we could jump forward on that. So let's stay with
Yes.
what do we do when we identify the belief. So you have told a story about identifying the I'm unworthy belief.
Yes.
Guess what?
What?
We all have an I'm unworthy belief.
Totally.
I'm unworthy or I'm a loser is generally people's core belief, and it comes from a childhood. And this doesn't mean that our parents are vilified or that we're blaming our parents for or our primary caregivers. It doesn't have to be a parent for a belief system. Beliefs are caused when, as children, our needs are not met. Children come into this world with certain needs. The need to be fed. The need to quench one's thirst, the need for physical touch. That's an important one. The need to be heard, to need to belong. And we talked about the needs last time with regard to Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But a very young human infant is different from other mammals that are born.
For sure.
Because some mammals are born and they're able to stand up immediately
Oh, totally. Yeah.
or swim.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as human infants, we have certain needs. Now, as a baby, when we're not verbal, if a need is unmet, for example, a child is in the crib and crying and not picked up immediately because they're hungry, for example, and want to be held or fed, the primitive brain, we'll talk about the brain in our next episode and do diagrams of how our brain works and the plasticity of the brain. But the primitive brain tells the child to cry, right? It's an automatic system, and the child cries until its needs are met.
Right.
If, however, an infant or a child does not have one's needs met, then certain behaviors can be exhibited and certain belief systems form. So let's fast forward age-wise to an older child.
Okay.
If a child, for example, has a need to be loved and accepted, and the primary caregiver ignores that need, a thinking brain starts to manifest, I'm not good enough to be held or accepted.
Right.
Now, here's what's important. The parent or the caregiver is the reason for the child not being held or accepted.
Right.
But the child who considers that parent a hero and perfect and idealizes that parent will absorb as though it's the child's fault. So belief systems form whether or not the primary caregiver has done harm or has intended any of these belief systems to have formed. Okay?
Wow. Okay.
So the I'm not worthy belief comes from the thoughts that occur after a need is not met.
Wow. Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I'm with you. Yes. Yes.
Okay. And we all have it. So I'm going to share a story about my I'm not worthy belief.
Yeah, please.
Okay. So I'm a generally newer lawyer. I got sworn in during the COVID pandemic when other lawyers were closing their doors. I opened mine.
Yep.
And so there are attorneys that have a lot more experience than I have that I've litigated against for child custody disputes. I litigate child custody disputes because as a mental health professional, I care so much about children. And
course,
so that's where I've jumped in the deep end, and litigation's a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
Most young lawyers spend hours and years in a law office learning how to go to the courtroom. Wow. And so as an attorney that founded my own law practice, I didn't work for someone and have hours or years practicing how to go to the courtroom. So what I did is I litigated with supervision, and attorneys have a duty of competence, which means that if I'm going to go up against someone that's got 25 or 30 years of experience in a heavily contested, complex custody dispute, and this one, for example, was a move away. That's a big deal.
Big time, yeah.
Then I needed to have someone with much more experience watching what I did and supervising me. And so I had a supervising attorney on remote while I was in the courtroom. But this opposing counsel told me in an email that I was laughable and inexperienced.
No way.
Because I said that I thought we could come to an agreement and get a settlement rather than having to litigate this in court.
Sorry, say it again. They called you
laughable and inexperienced.
I
was laughable because I asked her if we could have a meet and confer and talk about a settlement negotiation for her client and my client. Okay. But that raised all of the I'm unworthy.
Oh, just
like, okay, first of all, who's she been talking to?
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah.
Like, because if other people think I'm laughable, then what do they think of me?
Yeah, of
right.
course,
And then I had to tell myself, no, it's because she was talking to people I've already defeated. Right. Just like you knew you were an excellent podcast producer.
Yes.
Okay. But still, the ad hominem attack, which is an attack, a personal attack. It's just a nasty trick, right? Attorneys do to each other to psych each other out. The ad hominem attack sent me into a spiral because, of course, I was inexperienced, but the laughable was like the arrow in my heart. Of course. So I was observing the trial from my San Francisco office on day one, and on day two, I flew into LA. I was afraid of her, and I was laughable and inexperienced. We start the trial. We're halfway through the trial, and I said, it was clear that I was winning. So I said to the judge, Your Honor, can we get a tentative on the decision regarding the move away? And so he started to give his tentative. Well,
what does that mean?
A tentative decision means that this is the direction he's going to go in. And the reason I asked for the tentative was they had already put on their case in chief and they had rested. So it was my turn. And before I start my client's case in chief and extend the trial another, half of the amount of time. What's your tentative, Your Honor? Because it gives the opposing side an opportunity to object and try to keep putting on their case, right?
Oh, okay. Interesting. I have not heard of that term before.
So he's telling his tentative, which is a decision, and you're not to interrupt the judge when they're giving the tentative.
Okay.
And during the trial, I had made an objection to something that she, under her breath, said, that's basic. You don't object on this such and such. You object here. And that's in the transcript.
Okay.
So she was making cutting remarks to me in the middle of litigation. So when I asked for the tentative, the bench said his tentative. And as he was speaking, she started interrupting him over and over. And he finally said to her, Counsel, you're experienced enough to know not to object to my tentative. So then under my breath, I turned to her and I said exactly like this. I go, yeah. You're the one who's experienced.
That is wild. She
lost her mind.
I'm sure.
She continued objecting until bailiff came over with his hands on his hips and told her to settle down. Like, that was a big deal. Whoa. To have an attorney rebuked by the bailiff because she was out of control, losing her mind. And it's because I turned it on her unkind comment to me. And it was under my breath, so it wasn't on the transcript. Well, the bench later put it in the minute order that she had to be reprimanded in open court. So not only is it in the transcript where no one can know about it because public record does not have transcripts generally.
Okay.
But the public record does have the minute order, which the clerk writes out. So we won the trial. The client the other side wasn't allowed to move away. Then she appealed it and she lost the appeal as well. And now who's laughable, right? But same with you. I mean, you created and controlled the chessboard and you set up your situation and you did it in a manner that was amicable. And I tried to do an amicable control of the chessboard and was shot down. So remember this story when you use Alex's technique and you reframe the conversation, or when you control the chessboard and the other side refuses to continue playing the game and wants to try to harm you or make nasty ad hominem attacks. And we'll go into how step by step, practically, to be able to overcome the beliefs that not only you're thinking in your mind, but also the opposition that we have on a daily basis, because we live on a planet where people accuse and point fingers all day long.
Constantly.
So even once you've mastered the steps on how to snap out of limiting beliefs, how to snap out of maladaptive behaviors, and how to endure all the way through, there are going to be storms that come. So practical steps on how to navigate using this technique will benefit for the rest of our lives, hopefully.
I have a question, a follow-up to that story, because I think it's important to also share what you experienced after that experience. So you go into this limiting belief pops up.
Yes.
Then almost in a manifestation way, source, spirit, universe gives you this experience to show you, almost to show you like you're on the right path. You're actually great. It feels divine. What did it do for you after that experience? Were you able to recognize it in that moment and be like, have gratitude to having that experience that was initially very triggering and scary, but ultimately you needed to go through that in order to be shown, I am a badass lawyer and I can do this, and I may be inexperienced, but I'm not laughable.
Right. Well,
walk me through that.
Well, there's a couple things.
Okay, yeah, I'd love
that's
to hear.
great. Okay, first of all, laughable. Okay, I call it my evil laugh when I like throw my head back, ha 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 ha, right? There's the evil laugh, but it's not with an evil intention. So that's called mens rea, like a evil mind or an evil intention.
Yeah.
So what it did for me is it taught me more about who I am at the core. So my core identity, because what was my initial reaction after I beat her and went to the parking lot after she had gotten in trouble with bailiff, right? The first thing I did is I emailed her and I said, now, do you want to have that conversation about a settlement? Right?
Yeah.
I did throw my head back and do the evil laugh in the car.
Okay, yeah.
Okay? And then I said, because it's the right thing to do. I wasn't gloating. I gave her the opportunity. Then she emailed me back, call me, right? So I punched her, threw her down, and then she was willing to have that settlement discussion. But what it did for me is it taught me, sure, I'm a litigator. I fight for a living.
Yeah.
But my goal and intention, and I have it on my website for the firm, is to settle matters in an amicable way before one has to become brutal with force, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's who I am at a core, right? So that's acceptable and looked upon with favor by bench officers.
Okay, yeah.
And it's also good for us in everyday life. We all have, go ahead, say what you're going to say.
So it was empowering for you.
It was very empowering, and it also shined a mirror on my authenticity.
Oh, it mirrored you. It mirrored right back to you.
Yes, so the act mirrored who I am.
Yeah.
It was divine justice.
Yeah, divine justice. I love that. Yes.
It was divine and that happens all the time. Being aligned with one's authentic self gives us opportunities to live our highest and best life.
Absolutely.
And it makes for fun and exciting stories too, because I can look back on those adventures and see how I was supported by the universe.
Big time.
So I did control that chessboard.
You did.
And I think we all suffer from having the I'm unworthy belief.
Yeah.
Like I said before.
Yeah.
But the truth is, you're not unworthy. And there may be beliefs or behaviors that you are exhibiting that cause you to believe you're unworthy, and you have the power to change those. And so once we get to that next step in this podcast, you will be able to employ techniques like Alex used or skills that I've employed in order to navigate those scary beliefs, because it's a false belief. Okay, but let's talk about behaviors, like get to the nitty gritty. So behavior, by the way, is a manifestation or a symptom of a belief. And we haven't talked about emotions yet at all. That's coming down because many behaviors mask or numb emotions that are out of control. We'll talk about that in the future. But for now, let's go into the behaviors.
Okay.
So for me, I used to struggle with using food as a emotional way of soothing myself. And it never developed into something too maladaptive.
Okay.
But I was definitely aware that using food and alcohol to not feel certain emotions was causing my life to be out of alignment, and I wasn't managing my time as well as I could have. And so I was able to use the skills and techniques that I've developed in order to overcome those maladaptive behaviors. Did you have any behaviors, or have you had any behaviors that you had to change?
The thing that it always comes down to is my people pleasing.
People fall in different camps. So what is the camp in which you fall? Are you more trying to get attention and love from outside of yourself? Are you, do you have a tendency to do it yourself and not need anyone and create a strong front? Because this all goes back to our childhood. And the goal is for us as adults, now that we can use language to understand the phenomenon that occurred when we were so young that it didn't connect to our frontal cortex,
Yes,
right? We
yes.
didn't have language to explain it.
Yeah.
Now we can go back and do the repair work
Yes.
that's required in order to create a secure attachment of our among ourselves. So I've been doing a lot of work recently to create a secure attachment in myself. And the biggest struggle I have is to be vulnerable with the people, because I don't want to need anyone, right?
Yeah.
Now, what struggle do you have when you have this need to connect with someone? What struggles come up for you?
I think it goes all the way back. I mean, not to turn this too emotional, but I think being a closeted gay man for so long, I had this idea that if I made myself indisposable to people,
Okay.
if they needed me,
Right.
then when they find this big secret out, they they can't leave.
Okay.
It's probably rooted in abandonment.
Wow. Okay.
And so all of my behaviors, that is the core of it. Everything I did until I came out when I was 31 was solely a way to, I mean, I was always thinking ahead. What do I need to do in this situation to keep this secret, but also make myself indisposable to this person? Oh no, they don't like me. I can't have them not like me, because if they find out this secret, then that'll just be amplified. So I need to, it's constant and exhausting.
Sure.
And it definitely still pops up at times, far less now, obviously, but
mine is also fear of abandonment.
okay. Yeah. Well, isn't that the root of all of it at the end of the day?
Probably.
Right?
I don't know. I'm not an expert.
Right.
But if we
Speaking for
each have
yourself, yeah.
opposite attachment styles,
Yeah.
then fear of abandonment is a big one.
Huge.
Fear of abandonment. But getting to the root of that and to really identify, like, I didn't think I had a fear of abandonment. I don't need anyone, right? But why don't I need anyone or want to invest in someone that could abandon me is because of a fear of abandonment, right?
Because if you don't need them, then they can't hurt you.
Right. Okay, but abandonment is a fact of life.
It is. Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Remember we talked about having to deal with rejection?
Oof, yeah.
And guess what? There's going to be some abandonment that happens when a person walks in his or her their authenticity.
Yes.
So you're going to have to deal with rejection, but that's later. Don't be afraid.
Yeah, we'll get into that. I definitely have
because
a lot
it's so much better on the other side with
100%.
the joy. Yeah.
But it is quite the walk to go through.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll be with you every step of the way so that it's not too scary.
Absolutely.
And we'll address fears and concerns as we go. So let's go into some of the behaviors. What are behaviors that people do to feel love or to numb emotions?
Well, there's substances. That's a behavior. There's, shopping.
Sure. Gambling. Addictions.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
The addictions generally are to numb the pain of an emotion. We haven't talked about emotions yet. We've talked about beliefs. We're talking about behaviors. We're going to go into the emotions and how to address those sometimes overwhelming emotions, which are not that scary. I've been through some of the most horrific emotions a person can have, the dark night of the soul, several times.
Yeah.
I will help you. We will help you walk through those together so that it doesn't become overly debilitating. So we won't go into emotions yet, but the behaviors do mask the emotions. They numb the emotions. When I decided to stop drinking, I found that I was afraid. I was drinking to numb pain from abandonment and rejection.
So how was that, facing that when you...
Well, thankfully, I have what's called a high bottom. A friend of mine said, you need to stop drinking forever. And I said, ha, 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 I had too much to drink last night. She said, no, stop.
Oh, wow.
And so for me, that was really great. I'm one day at a time, but that was a high bottom for me because I didn't end up losing, my driver's license or my,
I see what you're
license.
saying.
Okay.
There was no rock bottom moment.
Thankfully,
Yeah.
I was really lucky to have a friend who cared enough about me to raise the issue. And so I was on the airplane. This was a while ago, and I identified the belief that I was afraid that I couldn't do it. And so I had to use the skills of self-talk, which we'll discuss in future episodes, to be able to overcome the fear of I cannot stop drinking.
I have a follow-up question.
Yes.
I think a large part of these steps you're talking about is being ready to hear things like that. How were you able to hear that from a friend and not have I guess generally people who are not ready to hear it would have a very negative reaction.
It was timing.
It was all
I was
timing.
ready.
You were
Yeah,
ready
I mean, you have
hear
to,
it.
it goes back to the and on the steps.
Yep,
So,
yep.
and one. So, and is the acceptance or the admission that you need help. Wow. And there was enough love of myself. I had enough love for myself.
There it is. Okay. That's what I was.
To change. Because we talked about how generally people won't change unless there's love or pain. Okay. So thankfully I didn't have to have the lesson of pain.
Yeah.
I got to have the lesson of I love myself enough to not continue this behavior and end up having pain as a result.
Yeah.
And so identifying the belief and identifying the behavior before it becomes something that you cannot make a objective choice to change is a big deal. And that's why we're doing this podcast, because we want you to be able to identify beliefs and identify maladaptive behaviors and break those and change those before you're forced to change them because something bad happened to you.
Yes.
And some of my colleagues talk about this. The universe will cause you to have experiences until you identify those beliefs and identify those behaviors and change them. Would you rather change them of your own accord because you snapped out of it? Or would you rather be forced to change them because something bad happened? Wow. Right? Yeah. So let's be proactive. I know it's hard to get up off the sofa or the couch and make a change. It takes 30 days generally, they say, to have a habit for change.
Yeah.
And so motivating a person to make the change is really, part of the problem and part of the challenge. Yeah. But we're hopeful that by walking you through it one step at a time, rather than just giving you all the steps at once and leaving you with it, as an encouraging team, we want to encourage you to make the change and grow on your own rather than having it forced on you by the universe. Right now, too, there are so many podcasts and educational tools to help with the healing of trauma. And that's kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But we're not really using the term trauma per se, because there's a lot of concept creep with that term. And I can go into that a little bit more later. The psychologists on my international listserv that I'm a part of have very strong opinions about the overuse of the word trauma and the overuse of the word narcissist today. Right?
Big one.
So we're avoiding those labels because this whole point is to snap out of labels. We don't want to label, so-and-so is a narcissist. We want to look at how can we snap out of limiting beliefs, limiting behaviors, change those behaviors once we identify the cause of them, and then endure and continue enduring all the way through this lovely journey.
Yes.
So other behaviors, addictions to shopping, eating, drinking, gambling, pornography, another person, a behavior, work, etc., are all ways of numbing sometimes an emotion that can feel overwhelming. I know that I don't necessarily or didn't necessarily used to like feeling emotions. What about you?
I feel like I've always felt emotions in a very big way.
Okay.
And have often not known what to do with that.
Right.
I do feel like I have a good handle on it now, but I certainly had an disordered eating.
Really?
Oh, yeah. That was a big journey for me to get over the control of that situation.
Well, and deciding without being forced to, but just deciding because you care about yourself enough to know what food makes you feel good and what food doesn't.
Yeah.
And really loving yourself is a big deal. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that you went through that healing journey.
Well, that is big.
Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. And like you just said, I had to, the very first lesson was look at yourself in the mirror and say,
Oh yeah, tell me about that. Tell us about that. What did you do?
So we had to.
Have you done any of this?
Yeah,
What?
ooh.
Here we go.
For those of you tuning in, a couple years ago, I went through a self-development program. I've shared the whole thing with Ginger over burgers and fries. And my first day in the program, our homework was to document. So we had to show proof, which was an added element of anxiety.
Wow.
Document looking at ourselves in the mirror for 5 minutes and just saying, I love you. I could not. Specifically, I love you, Alex.
Have you looked at yourself in the mirror for extended periods of time?
And
with someone else knowing about it.
Camera on me. And I will say, first of all, when we were given the homework, I was like, easy. No, I challenge you, the viewer, to go look at yourself in the mirror very seriously. Tell yourself that you love yourself. It is so much more challenging than I thought it would be. I bawled. I couldn't even look at myself. It took me a second. First, it's funny and you kind of laugh, and then it sinks in that you're like, why can't I say this to myself?
Right. You're moving into our next thing, and I really am glad because this is the transition. This moves into radical love and radical self-acceptance. So let's talk about that.
Okay, yeah.
Because I recently did it too. I was in a HEAL seminar.
Yeah.
Let me give credit to Gabor Mate.
Okay.
And it was a 5-day online complimentary course. I didn't sign up for his, and I'm not trying to promote that, but I'm just saying. So one of the exercises is to put your arms around yourself and to,
Let's do it.
Yes. So, and you say, I love you to myself, right? So go ahead, Alex.
I love you, Alex.
And I would say, I love you, Ginger. And I cried too, Alex, because we are now adults.
Yeah.
And the viewers are likely adults.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe some younger folks are tuning in order to
Snap out earlier than us.
Right. That happened like organically.
I love that.
I do too. Well, people that are coming to the earth now are so much farther advanced anyway.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
That exercise was huge for me though, because now, and then I got so excited about it after a couple weeks, I printed it out. I printed out all these papers. One, I love you, Alex. You are wanted, Alex. You are loved, Alex.
Yes.
It's important to use your name.
Well, okay. So I feel like I hijacked that.
Oh, okay.
So,
Tell us.
Well, I admire that you did that as a program and as a self-healing tool. And so I feel like I hijacked it because I sat for the bar exam. My point is, overcoming my colleagues' objections made me feel as though I was, quote, worthy. But that's in a professional capacity.
Yeah.
I'm still working on exercises to develop that secure attachment that I have created for myself as an adult for my inner child. And kudos to you because you've already overcome that hurdle. And so I challenge the viewer and the listener, what have you done in your life that you can lean on to hijack the I'm worthy self-talk? Use that as a starting place because if there's something that you've done that you're proud of, hey, I know, for example, you knew you were a capable and successful producer of podcasts.
Yes.
I know I passed the California bar exam. I know I was able to successfully give birth to 3 children.
Yes.
Big deal, right?
Huge.
Right. So what have you done in your life that you can stand on and be proud of? And don't minimize that because our next episode is about radical self-love and radical self-acceptance. And if you have minimized something that you've done because of the external forces telling you that you're not worthy, then you're going to get in trouble. We're going to call you on it. And so we want you to put in the chat some of your achievements and accomplishments, and we will all give you the clap emoji and cheer you on because as a community, we are ascending together and we're helping one another.
Yes.
So don't hijack this next step.
Ooh.
Do it the hard way, Alex's way.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Look in the mirror.
Yes.
And we'll take you through the next steps next time.
That's your homework. Look in the mirror and say I love you to yourself.
Right. Or hijack the whole process and remember what you've done in order to be proud of yourself.
Yes.
But then there's no escaping that mirror. Okay, so next time we're going to go into identifying causes, having compassion for yourself, radical self-love, and then we'll move to the final step.
So excited.
Looking forward to it. So as a review, we have and 1, and 2. So let's go through it. The and is the acceptance or admission that it's time to change. And let's do that using love, not pain. The and is the beginning of the counts, right?
Yes.
The beginning of the steps. But if you say and in your head like I keep doing, it's because the A is the initial for one of the words you choose. So it's either admission, like admitted that we were powerless over whatever substance, that our lives have become unmanageable. That's step 1 in the 12-step program. Or we accept, in the 5 stages of grief, we accept whatever we've gone through. And you really do need to go through those stages. And it's not linear necessarily like we talked about, but the acceptance is when one is ready to change. Now, Alex quiz, what is step 1?
1 is
Identify
Identify the limiting belief.
Perfect. The beliefs. Very good.
Identify the beliefs.
And the reason I cut you off on limiting is because I want it to be beliefs and behavior.
Okay.
Why? Because we're going to get to ABC. I'll explain that later. We're doing letters for those who are left brain. We're doing numbers and creative for those who are right brain.
Yeah.
We encourage you, if you have questions about using the left and right brain, to watch the podcasts with the choreographers and the producers that we've invited. But anyway, back to the ABC. So step 1 is identify the beliefs, as you said.
Yep.
What is the other B that we talked about today?
Behaviors.
Very good. I hope that they said it before you did.
Yes.
Thanks for the
Gave a little pause.
For the pregnant pause.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. That's good. Really good teaching.
Yeah.
That's best practices for teaching. We bring in audience participation because that's a modality that helps you really remember what you've learned. And so we don't want this just to be another podcast that you watch and then you don't absorb and you go on to the next one, where we barrel through how to solve the problems that you find yourself in. We are committed in this journey to really going through it with you. And we're happy to. We look forward to bringing you to step 3 next time.
Thanks so much.